Alright, so we're going to go over 7.3, square root functions and inequalities. Your homework for tonight will be page 427, numbers 3 through 6, and then 9 and 10. Make sure to graph all. 9 and 10 are dealing with the inequalities. 3 through 6 deal with the functions themselves. We're going to open up to the first page of 7.3, which is right here. So our learning target, I can graph and analyze square root functions and inequalities. So the parent function of a square root functions basically looks like this. You kind of have this endpoint here, and it has there's like a tail that comes off it. It's always going to go off to the right for what we're doing. So it's always going to have this certain look to it. It might be shifted up, down, back, down and back, but it's always going to have this certain look where there's an endpoint, and then it's moving upwards, kind of flattening out after a while. A couple things you're going to need to know. We're back with vertex form, so we're going to have A's, H's, and K's to deal with again. Remember, we can't trust the H. We are going to have to flip the H. Our first skill is going to be graphing square root functions. The steps are, first we're going to have to identify A, H, and K. Our vertex is just H, comma, K. Then we're going to make a table that starts at the H values and increase by 1 unit. We're going to graph the points, and then you're going to state the domain and range of the functions. The domain will be all x values greater than or equal to h. The range is all y's greater than or equal to k. The h will always work with the x's, the k will always work with the y's. You can either write x values or just y's, I don't care. And then if you're dealing with inequalities, then we're just going to have to test a point and shade accordingly. Well, let's go with a couple examples now. So flip the page. So we have our first part, f of x equals the square root of x minus 2. So notice there's nothing else underneath the square root sign, it's just x. So we know our h is 0 and our k is negative 2. So when we make our xy chart, we start at 0, negative 2, and we're going 1 unit up. So I just did 1 and 2. You can go all the way down to 3, 4. Really, you just need 3 points. So you have 1. The square root of 1 is just 1 minus 2 is negative 1. And then the square root of 2, so you plug that into your calculator, you're going to get that it's 1.4. So 1.4 minus 2 is a negative 0.58. You can do that in your calculator. And now we can just graph the points. So we have 0, negative 2. We have 1, negative 1. And we have 2, negative 0.58. Right? We know the general trend of these types of functions, so it will look like that. Your last part is stating the domain and stating the range. Our domain is all x's greater than or equal to the h value, which is 0. And our range is all y's greater than or equal to negative 2. Right, all the x's are over here that are going to be greater than 0. That's where our function is covering. And then all the y's that are greater than negative 2. There's nothing that's going to be down here below negative 2. Everything's above. All right, let's do another example. So we have f of x equals x minus 4. That's underneath the square root plus 3. So our h this time, it's not negative 4. We can't trust h. We have to flip it, so it's just 4. And k equals 3. So you have the x and the y, so you start with 4, 3. And now I'm just going 5 and 6. When I plug 5 in for x, I get 5 minus 4, which is 1. The square root of 1 is just 1, plus 3 is 4. When I plug 6 in there, I have 6 minus 4 is 2. The square root of 2, again, is 1.4, plus 3 is 4.4. Plot the points, so we have 4, 3. And then 5, 4. And then 6, 4.4. And you're just drawing it. Again, this might be a little bit off, but with 3 points, this is the general look of the square root function. And then we need the domain, we need the range, So all x is greater than or equal to 4, and all y is greater than or equal to 3. Now we're going to go down to the skills number 2. This is graphing square root inequalities. Everything is the exact same, right? If we go take a look here, right? Here's kind of our step 1, our step 2, our step 3, and our step 4. You're going to have those same 4 steps, and then you have a 5th step at the end. So our first step, we look, like, okay, my h again is 0, right? There's nothing else underneath the square root. My k is 4. I make my xy chart. I start with 0, 4, 1, 2. When I plug 1 underneath there, I get the square root of 1 is just 1, plus 4 is 5. And then when I do 2 again, I will get 5.4 after I get my output. So now I have 0, 4, 1, 5, 2, 5.4. Now the next thing we're going to have to look at is the inequality. Is it just a less than? Is it a less than or equal to? Right, less than or equal to is going to be a solid line. So this time we will have a solid line like that. So again, we have the same type of steps, and now last part we need to test a point. Now you can't test anything over on this side because we need to see everything that's over here. If you test anything on this side, you're going to get a negative underneath the square root and will not help us anyways. So what I like to do is just find something on the xy line and test that. So I'm going to test 2, 0, so that point right there. When we test the inequality, if it's true, we're going to shade towards the point we tested. If it's false, we shade away. So we have y is less than or equal to the square root of x plus 4. So now I'm just going to substitute in my numbers. And I get 0 is less than or equal to 5.4 approximately, which is true. So I'm going to shade towards the point I tested. Notice when I'm shading, I'm not shading anything on the left side of that last point. So nothing over here will be shaded. This, wherever the last point is right here, that is where your shading is going to end. Other than that, number 5 has a little bit more of a difficulty, a rigorous to it. You're going to have to divide, take out this 2 underneath the square root first to find that h is really negative or positive a half. So, just show you that, basically you just have f of x is greater than, and then you have 2, and then you have x minus a half minus 3, just like that. So then you know your a is 2, your h is negative, well your h is a half, and then your k is negative 3. And you can continue going that same way.